You don't just accidentally become a pro bodybuilder overnight. Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. So this video is part 2 of my fitness Q&A. When I recorded it the other day, I noticed that this video would get way too long, so I decided to split it up in 2 videos. Yeah, and this is now part 2, and I'll talk mostly about nutrition, protein intake, some common misconceptions and fitness myths, and how fast you can expect to make progress. So if you like this type of video, then please let me know by giving me a thumbs up. And yeah, with that, let's jump straight into it. First question for today: should I eat in a caloric deficit, at maintenance, or in a surplus? How much calories you consume very much depends on the goals you have. So if you want to lose weight, you need to be in a caloric deficit, so you consume less calories than you're spending during the day. But if your goals are mostly to build muscle mass and gain strength, then I would recommend eating at maintenance calories, so consuming just as much as you spend, or even in a slight surplus, so you consume even more than you burn. It very much depends on what goals you have with training. How much protein should I eat per day? Research actually recommends 1.6 to 2.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight per day to optimize muscle growth. And everything above these 2.2 grams doesn't further optimize muscle gains. However, eating below that range will probably lead to suboptimal muscle gains. If you're serious about increasing muscle mass and maybe you even have competitive goals, then you should opt to fall into that range. And also when you try to lose weight, I would urge you to have a high protein intake, because protein is very satiating, so a high protein meal makes you feel fuller for longer, and also you want to keep that muscle mass, so you want to ensure that you consume enough protein during the day to keep that muscle mass. But again, it depends. These are just rough guidelines for optimizing muscle growth, but whether you eat less or fall into that range is down to personal preferences and other factors. When should I eat? When you're hungry? So I know where this question comes from. It was a myth for a long time in the bodybuilding community that you should eat a high protein meal within 30 minutes after your workout. However, that myth has been debunked by science. So science actually recommends eating a high protein meal within a 5-hour window around your workout, but that can be after your workout, but also before your workout. What that would mean in practical terms, for example, when you have a high protein breakfast at 8 in the morning, then you work out at 10 and you have lunch at 1, you don't need to have a shake after your workout, because you already have these 2 high protein meals spaced in this 5-hour window around your workout. On the other hand, if the first thing you do in the morning is working out and your last meal was dinner the other day, then you might want to consume a high protein shake or high protein breakfast after your workout, just to have some protein within that 5-hour window. However, overall, I think having a good balanced nutrition and an adequate protein intake for your goals over the whole day is way more important than to stress about the exact meal timing, especially if you're not a pro athlete. But as a hobby athlete, I think having the great picture in mind is much more important than to stress about these details as to when exactly you consume your meals. Do I need to take supplements? No, you don't need to, but you can if you want. So there are many supplements on the market. So the more common ones are just protein powder or protein bars, isotonic sports drinks, BCAAs, pre-workout, creatine, and probably many more that just didn't come to my mind right now. There's no supplement that you need to take, because as the name supplement implies, they're there to supplement your already existing diet and recovery routine and training program. So technically don't need the supplements. That's why personally I only take protein powder to supplement my diet on days when I can't get enough protein in with my regular meals. And I also drink isotonic sport drinks if my workouts take longer than an hour, just to replenish all these electrolytes and get some energy. You can experiment what feels good to you, what you think brings you an additional benefit, but they're never a replacement for getting the basics right. I'm not getting sore from my workouts, are they not working? This is a common misconception that many people think if you're not sore after a workout, then your workout wasn't effective. But this is simply not true. You get muscle soreness after something unaccustomed or different. So for example, when you do an exercise for the first time, or if you really push yourself to the absolute limit or maybe even above it, and that means that many beginners will feel sore when they start working out. However, after you've gotten accustomed to exercise, you should get sore less and less frequently. But if you make progress over the long term, but you'd never feel sore, you're still making progress, meaning that your workouts must have been effective. I'm getting very sore from my workouts, should I skip the next one? If you're past this beginner stage and you still get sore very regularly, then I would maybe rethink how you approach training and recovery and nutrition, because getting sore all the time can be a sign of your body that it's not properly recovering. However, if you can exclude this, then you can still show up for your next training session, and I would recommend just hopping on the treadmill or the stationary bike, do some light cardio, because light activity can actually improve muscle soreness, and if it gets better and you fit enough for the workout, then by all means go for it. But if you think that it's still hurting too much, then just skip that workout or delay it to another day. Will cardio kill my gains? This is a common one I see on YouTube, that many videos are titled, "This will kill your gains." And this is usually cardio. However, cardio is a very good form of exercise for both cardiovascular health and also for losing fat. When properly planned into your workout schedule, and if you allow adequate recovery between your cardio session and your weightlifting session, and if you fuel your body so that you have enough energy for both of these types of workouts, then cardio and weightlifting do absolutely not interfere with each other. Is it dangerous when my knees go over my toes during squats? No. So this is another common one. It's long been believed that your knees should never ever go over your toes when squatting, but this is just absolutely false. Your knees can and should go over your toes when you squat, because that allows for more range of motion, for more depth in the squat, and biomechanically you're in a more favorable position. And also research has shown that when you squat with your knees over your toes, that doesn't hurt your knees in any way. The only thing to remember is that your knees should always move in line with your toes, so that your knees move over your toes and not cave in or are pushed excessively outwards. Are deadlifts bad for my back? This is one I got recently from an acquaintance when I posted me deadlifting on Instagram. And the comment was like, yeah, well, that's super impressive, but don't you hurt your back? And the answer is no. The deadlift is just like any other weightlifting exercise. If you do it with proper form and good technique, then it's actually beneficial and the injury risk is almost zero. However, if you have bad form, bad technique, then yes, as with any other exercise, there is a substantial risk for injury. And I think for deadlifts, because you lift heavy weight, probably heavier than with any other exercise, injury risk is even higher. But again, if you have a good technique in place, then you can lift as heavy as you want and you won't injure yourself. How fast can I gain muscle and lose fat? The numbers I'm going to throw at you are just some rough guidelines from the scientific literature, but as a woman, you can expect to gain around 0.5 kilo of muscle mass per month or 6 kilos per year. And as men, you can expect to gain around double that. Of course, this highly depends on you and genetics and your training background, if you've had previous experience. So some people might find it harder to gain muscle, some people might find it easier, but this is just a general ballpark of what you can expect. And always keep in mind that this 0.5 kilogram or 1 kilogram will be distributed over your entire body. So that means what you see month to month is probably not a lot. When it comes to fat loss or weight loss, I think you can expect to lose around 1 kilogram per week. However, I find this is excessive and probably very dangerous. So I wouldn't recommend losing more than 0.5 kilogram per week. And personally, I find this is still very aggressive. So I would opt for maybe 250 grams per week, which is less aggressive and it will take more time, but it's also more sustainable. But that's about the numbers that you can expect. will I get bulky from lifting weights? I think this is probably a concern of many women, and my answer is you can get bulky, but only if you really, really want to. Because women already have a harder time putting on muscle mass than men do, and even men have a hard time becoming professional bodybuilders, so it's even harder to achieve that as a woman. And I like to compare it with running. So if you've never run in your entire life and you now decide to pick up running and you go for your first run, you would never ever expect to run a marathon. It takes a lot of time and a lot of dedicated training and a lot of effort to run a marathon. So this is not something you just casually and accidentally do. And it's the same with weightlifting. You don't just accidentally become a pro bodybuilder overnight. This is something that requires a lot of time and effort and dedicated hard training. So by lifting weights a few times a week will not make you bulky unless you really try hard. How do I get visible abs? There's two factors to it. So yes, you need to train your abs in order to have something to show off, as with any other muscle. However, whether you see them or not is really just down to body fat percentage and where you store body fat. So if you have a lot of belly fat, then you will have a harder time getting rid of it and having visible abs. Whereas if you store your fat primarily at your thighs, then you might have visible abs at a much higher body fat percentage. And to lose body fat overall, you need to be in a caloric deficit, so you need to burn more calories than you're consuming. Also, it's important to know that you cannot spot reduce fat, so whatever you do, where you lose fat is determined by genetics, and there's unfortunately nothing you can do about this. How can I lose fat on my belly, my thighs, or any other body part? So unfortunately, you cannot spot reduce fat. That means there's no way you can direct fat loss to a specific area. And it doesn't matter what types of food you eat, if you eat so-called superfoods or if you do 100 crunches every day, it all doesn't matter. Where you lose fat and where you gain fat is determined by genetics. So if you want to have visible abs, for example, or lose fat around your thighs, you need to lose fat overall. And how you do that is actually very simple. You just eat less than you burn, and then you have created a caloric deficit, and that will lead to fat loss over time. And eventually, you will also lose fat in your desired area. How do I get toned? I hate this terminology. What toned means is basically to have a very defined physique. So basically, to get toned, what you want to do is build muscle and lose fat, and there you have it. So that was it for today. I really hope you liked this video, and if you did or if you learned something, then please give me a thumbs up. Also let me know in the comment section below if you have more questions you want me to answer and make this maybe a part 3 series, or if you would like to know more about a certain topic in more detail. If you want to get notified when I upload these videos where I answer your questions, hit the subscribe button and also click the notification bell next to it. And with that, I hope you have a nice day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!